Right, good afternoon. It's a Thursday, the 28th day of November 2024. Welcome to Election Focus right here on Pan-African Television. A reminder that, as usual, this show is live from our studio number 48, Swanika Street in Abelemkpe. Also, in 46 other African countries for our satellites. You can watch us in some parts of Europe and, of course, South America as well. On the internet, make sure you connect with us at facebook.com/Pan-African Television. Also on YouTube, we are live on youtube.com/Pan-African Television. Here are the topics that we shall be discussing this afternoon, if time permits us. Speaker rejects Afenyo Markin's request to recall House, and Shraj's damning report on National Cathedral construction, and then finally the overall security situation ahead of the 2024 election. We have just some 9 days more, by the way, 9 days and 9 nights more until the December 7 general election, and we are all waiting with bated breath. But let me proceed to introduce my guests. Facing me, I have Councillor Pia Dankwa of the Movement for Change. He is also a private legal practitioner. Council, good afternoon. We met earlier in the day, and you are back here.
In your company.
Right. I also have Kojo Youngson of Multimedia, as usual, on a Thursday afternoon. The morning man is here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be
here. Fine.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
And my boss, whom I haven't fought with in a while, I miss that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bless.
Right. So without further ado, we'll get into our first topic for conversation, the issue in relation to happenings in Parliament. We do remember that Afenyo Markin wrote to the Speaker trying to convince him to recall Parliament because there's some urgent business to do, some bills that had to be, passed by Parliament and all. But the Speaker has responded, and in his letter to Afenyo Markin, he indicated that, look, it's the campaign period, it's just a few days more to the elections, and it won't be possible to recall Parliament now. He could do that after the December 7 elections. And that recall, with regards to the dates that the leader of the MPP caucus in Parliament suggested, it was supposed to have happened today and tomorrow, so 28th and 29th. But of course, the Speaker isn't having any of that. But a lot of people have tried to make meanings out of it, especially following events between the Speaker and Afenyo Markin, and then the Supreme Court. I'm going straight to Kojo. We do not have so much time, so Kojo will start the conversation for us on this issue.
Oh boy. Yeah, I saw Speaker Bagbin's. And by the way, let me say hello to everybody. It's always nice to be with you all on a Thursday. I look forward to this very much. Not so much because of the time we'll spend with Bless, but the fufu that I'll eat afterwards. No, these are important conversations. I'm so pleased that you include me in them. Yeah, I saw Speaker Bagbin's response to the memo, or was his response a memo? I don't know. And his reasons are very simple. The now majority again leader, Alexander Afenyo Markin, highlights some 22 items of government business that he says are urgent and need to be addressed, for which reason he was urging the Speaker to use his discretion to recall Parliament. 22 items. The Speaker said, well, first of all, we only have 2 days because the election is coming up. So really there will only be 2 days in which we can do business, and you have 22 items. It's not possible. We can't do that. Secondly, in order to come and even attempt the world record of 22 items in 2 days, everybody would have to come from everywhere. and people are in the middle of their campaigns. This is actually the time when Parliament tends to take time off so that MPs can do exactly this, campaign and hope to win their seats or regain their seats or whatever, assignment they have to achieve by the 7th of December. So to recall, these members to come and attempt to do 22 items of business in 2 days, his discretion would be badly used if he were to make that decision. So, no. Well, I don't know if I should tell you how I feel about it, or let me just leave the audience to decide whether they think that is a reasoned response or not. But I think...
Would love to know how you feel about it.
Well, how are you going to do 22 items of business in 2 days? And you knew you had 22 items of business to do. Manana, you are now coming to request that Speaker should use his discretion to call back Parliament. What about the times when the Speaker called back Parliament and you didn't turn up? Obviously, this business was not important to you. So why is it now so important that 2 days to go, every member of Parliament should be called back from their campaigns to come and deal with the business? Because you have suddenly decided that it's important. You who decided not to come to Parliament because you can't sit in your favorite chair. Now everyone should stop what they are doing, stop their campaigns to come and attend to your 22 items of business. You, that, because you didn't want, because of the spiritual implications, you didn't want to sit on one side of the house. Now there you are ready, they should recall Parliament, you will come. To come and deal with 22 items of business in 2 days. Do you see that Parliament is not that important to our lives? Whether they sit or not, we'll be fine. And there appears to be no particular item of business that is so important that we absolutely need Parliament to sit. Otherwise, our lives will... can you think of something that you are waiting for in your life that Parliament is delaying?
No, not at all.
I can't. I'm fine. So, I think the Speaker exercised his discretion in a way that is not detrimental to anybody except Afenyomakin and his friends. And, you can't always get what you want in this world. Now, look, let us not reserve all of the opprobrium and criticism for Afenyomakin. The delays that have led us here were not only caused by the majority side. The minority side also adopted a very petulant, childlike approach in this thing that they should not be exonerated from either. Because in the same way that it is childish and infantile for the majority to insist on sitting in one spot, it is equally infantile for the minority to come early, to come and occupy seats in another spot just because they want to be called the majority. It's not even as if they made you majority, you can use it for anything sensible. You had even numbers for 4 years. You did nothing with it. Now suddenly you want majority to do what? So I'm sorry, but the childishness is there's enough to go around the whole of Parliament. And they've let us down. That we have to switch on our TV and see our fathers doing march past, saluting themselves. The shame. And this will be there forever. Forever. At any given time, when I see any of these people standing somewhere talking about something serious, I cannot divorce that image from the image of them marching like Kwashiorkor children and saluting each other. It was the same people. Celebrating with glee because they've got the best chairs in the house. MPs who are supposed to represent us. So that's the best of us as a nation. That's our best. That's our best. Doing Russian marching and saluting each other. No, I'm sorry. So, and by the way, these all led to the delays. These all led to the delays after the what's it called, the ruling from the Supreme Court, which clearly meant, because it was an injunction, it clearly meant that we are going back to factory settings. By force, they still came to sit in the other people's chairs. What for? What for? That also caused a delay. So, if today we have 22 items of business that we can't conduct, every member of parliament should be ashamed of himself or herself. Every single one of them. They've let us down. And I mean, it's a pity that it's just weeks to their whatever. And it's not like they are going to exit. They're just going to go and collect some money, some ex gratia, and come back and come and subject us to this ridiculousness all over again for another 4 years. We can't escape it. We can't escape the mediocrity that we have elected into parliament. So that's it. My take on this thing is that Bagbin has made a common sense ruling. There's no way business could have been conducted in this short period of time. Even the request that came for it to be done was ridiculous. And I don't even know why Affirmative did it, because it just opens him up to ridicule. They recalled parliament, you didn't come. Now suddenly you're coming to ask somebody to use his discretion to recall it for you. I mean, honestly, at some point, people have to grow up. I hope it is in our lifetime.
All right. Right, thank you very much, Kojo. Mariama.
Well, I mean, I honestly, we're having a conversation before we came on set, and an opinion was expressed, that it seems as if the Honourable, and I use the Honourable very loosely, Affirmative is bent on making himself a poster child of, why young people shouldn't be allowed into government spaces, because the levels at which he operates, he seems to sink lower and lower and lower and lower every week we come here. Like, we come here every week, and it's a different level of ridiculousness that, Affirmative is, dragging us all into. I mean, let's even use home sense, right? Let's take parliamentary proceedings, let's just use regular home sense. Twice, please, I stand to be corrected. 2 times he has requested for parliament to sit. Parliament has sat, and he's refused to show. Twice. Because of where he will sit. And this time he goes ahead and issues a memo, citing 22 reasons why they should, why the Speaker of Parliament should reconvene the House again. The man just loves drama. Affirmative just loves drama. He's a very dramatic individual who loves the attention. Because for him, it's another opportunity for journalists to gather around, the floor of Parliament, to do his walkings across, and have cameramen following him, and then have banters with journalists about whether he's the majority leader or he's not the majority leader, and educate journalists on who a majority leader is and who a majority leader is not. It's mind-boggling. Because what is different about, this request from the first 2 requests that he made? Why doesn't he want to come back to Parliament? Doesn't he want to go to his own constituency and campaign? I mean, excuse me, but I mean, who does he think he is? All your colleagues are in their constituencies campaigning. It's how many days to an election? You've called one, you didn't show. You've called twice. A week to elections, you are calling again for Parliament so that you come back and for what? He needs to grow up. He needs to realize that this is not a charade. For the majority of Ghanaians, our livelihoods depends on all of this. Government business is not child's play. It's serious business. Why am I saying that to an honorable member of parliament? Why am I the one saying this? He doesn't realize this. It's ridiculous. It's shocking, oh. Because 45 minutes ago, he's just granted an interview about how he's going to drag this one to parliament. I mean, to court. He's going to seek, if the speaker doesn't, he's going to seek constitutional. 45 minutes ago, Joy. 45 minutes ago. Let me come to it. So he says I cannot force him to recall parliament. I want to read what he says here. He cannot force him, however, I will use constitutional means. No, this is not. You see, it's for things like this that people should lose their seats. It's for activities like these that people should lose their seats. It's like you don't take us seriously. He really doesn't take us seriously. I wonder how his mind works. I really wonder. At a time like this, when every Ghanaian is talking about how terrible our economy has been, badly mismanaged, when everybody is looking for this next election as a means of some semblance of saving, for want of a better expression, where all of us are eager to see what will happen next, and we are all having conversations around the next government will have a hard time trying to resuscitate, this economy. We are having conversations around the dollar. I mean, Charlie, we don't have time for this, oh. And perhaps his side, and I always wonder about the other members of parliament on the majority side. What did they say to him? Because if I were his colleague on the majority side, I'll be having serious issues with him. Because you're undermining our role. You're completely subjecting us to public ridicule. Like, what is all this? Really? I think he needs to get serious. He really needs to get serious. And perhaps maybe appeal to Speaker Bagbin to be at his macho best, because you know that he's macho, right? Because, I mean, come on. This has got to stop at some point.
Right. Council.
So, after listening to, let me take the opportunity to wish your viewers a good afternoon. Always a pleasure to share this platform with D. Kojo Youngson and they are seasoned journalists and seasoned social commentators. And I learned a lot from them, being a tyro of this game. So hopefully, based on what they said, I can be said to be worthy of this platform. After listening to them, Kojo and Ama, and I know that indeed I'm right when I think that we are no longer a democracy. We are a kakistocracy. And this is no longer a democracy. Now, what is a kakistocracy? So you know crassy. You know that crassy means rule. So that one is clear. So what is the meaning of kakis? Kakis is a Greek word. That means people who are either incompetent or unscrupulous. Because of the terrible political culture we've all forged in this country, a culture which is very parochial in nature, we've managed to turn our democracy into a kakistocracy. The rule by the unscrupulous people, and that's what we are seeing in all this parliamentary, in this parliament issue. This fourth, as in, is it not the same parliament where an MP, somebody who vowed to uphold the laws of this country, snatched ballot paper and was running, was being chased in parliament? It was this parliament. It was this parliament. We didn't call for his impeachment. Indeed, he raises that as his banner of excellence within his party, the new patriotic party. And he's hailed for that, for snatching and running in parliament. Is this parliament? 137, 137. Yes, and this same parliament, they marched like they were communist soldiers. Yeah, they marched like they were communist soldiers. Communist is not the same as socialism. So this side eye business shouldn't fly because communism is not the same as socialism. But the side eye was the side eye was bombastic. So I have to make that clarity. But they didn't match like socialists, like socialists. No, they comport themselves. Especially those of the scientific, those who socialism is scientific, they comport themselves. But they match like communist soldiers. Parliament of Ghana. And they'll do that because we are in a aristocracy. This is not democracy. We shouldn't deceive ourselves. We shouldn't deceive ourselves. We should not. Because what will make the leader of the MPP caucus, what will make him, having had the effrontery to attempt to recall parliament on 2 occasions and having refused to show up on the altar of where he will sit, and deciding to go into the uncharted waters of spirituality. Yeah, understand? Will gather the audacity of a cockroach to present to the speaker 22 businesses which he deemed so important that they need to be sat on and addressed before the elections. Not to be rehashing Kojo's arguments. Of course, I stand on all forces with that argument. You understand? So if the 22 issues were that important to you, Ama, why would you sit down and dilly-dally and play play to extent that you attempt to force a young journalist to address you as majority leader? So when you felt that the 22 businesses were of that importance, because as we speak, the budget hasn't been read. As we speak, budget hasn't been read. They claim they are going to, there's an FSHS law. For 8 years, you've implemented FSHS. Agencies need to pass a law for 8 years. For 8 years. Yeah, understand? It is a aristocracy. Because they've taken their eyeball, or it was never their focus in the first place. Because why are they there? Why are they in parliament? You understand? They talk about Honorable Affirmative. But really, his name should be Affirmative, the Honorable MP of. Because is the role that is honorable, not you, the human being. We need to be clear on that. The right, we should call them right. It's not Honorable Affirmative, and I'll use him as an example. His name is Affirmative, the Honorable MP for. Because it's the role you're occupying that is honorable. So when you assume that role, at least humble yourself and allow a bit of the honorable nature of that role to rub off you. But no, it won't happen because it is a aristocracy. We are practicing a aristocracy, not a democracy. We are, and you see, and I draw off us with my sister here when she said that. Listen, a huge opportunity was granted us. Because unfortunately, we run a system where before you are even considered for any stress position, you must be very close to your death. You must be in the upwards of over 60 years before we consider you. And then, God being so good, an opportunity is given to a 40-something-year-old man to show that after all, the young men in this country are capable of taking over the affairs of this country and leading us into a restoration of our glorious past. And what does this young man do? He's more concerned about where he will sit, the spirituality of where he will sit, as against doing his job. You understand? But the question is, where did we pass to get to where we are? See, I keep on hammering on the culture, the political culture in this country. I'm sure people are tired. There's a lawyer, four-eyed lawyer. He doesn't have anything to say. Keeps on wearing our ears with the political culture. But there's something fundamentally wrong with the political culture in this country. Because I'm saying it's a kakistocracy, but the system allowed our democracy to become a kakistocracy. All of us allowed it. All of us, myself included. Yeah. See, where we create an environment where we try and understand a politics whose focus is in what is in it for me. If we sit down and allow the political parties, that are one of the most critical political institutions whose duty is to forge that right political culture. We allow them just because of their name. Because if you ask me, the MPP is past its best. People are the English people. It's past its best. Yes, or best. In fact,
its best years are behind.
No, that's very charitable. Not last week, could you explain to us the difference between expired and best before? I'm confused. Are they expired or they are best before date has passed? No, it's something we should be considering. Have they expired? Because you'll be expired if you do not hold value anymore. That's best by. But they've passed around, they are actually poisonous. If you consume them, you die. If you consume their values, their principles. I'm telling you, because their values and their principles are allowing people whose values are adverse to our collective values to take critical positions of leadership. And it's impacting all of us. I'm telling you, because they've lost focus on why they are there. Either they've lost focus or they never held that focus in the first place. Because what will make a party in 2020 hold position A, and within 4 years, that position becomes B? Why is Affirmative following his desire to push that 22 business? Is it because of the love for his country? Or because he thinks they can extract some political gain out of those 22 businesses? Or is it part of the game they are playing to make the speaker look so bad? You understand? His response tells me that, listen, it's a game he's playing. Because he feels he's won some victory, some Pyrrhic victory in the Supreme Court. So he can make reference to that and say he will go back to the Supreme Court. So the question is, what is his focus? Is his focus to push an agenda that is in our interest? Because if that was his focus, that bet you where he was sitting, or the spirituality of where he was sitting, wouldn't have been a bar from his pushing those agenda. But they've lost, and that's why in 2020 they can say A, and in 2024 they can say B. That's why they can push an agenda that fights against the principles of the rule of law. That's why they can push an agenda which is arbitrary, which promotes and guarantees arbitrariness in their party. So yes, so for the people, it's not about they having passed their best use date. It's a party who that has expired. Because when you consume them, you'll be poisoned. When we consume them, when we consume the culture they are propagating, then the political culture in this country will be poisoned. Will be a culture that does not put the country first. Have you seen what what's his name? B.J. Darocha wrote? I know Kujo loves B.J. Darocha, but it's not the only person who loved him. I also loved him. I actually still have his green book. I think every lawyer what is should have that book. You understand? But after I read what he's... see, whenever Alan contests for MPP position, they always talk about Alan has resigned. And they always make mention of what B.J. Darocha said. Now, when Alan replied to His Excellency President Kufuor, they strangely brought up what B.J. Darocha said. And I'm sure they didn't read the content. Because the content of that letter does not do the venerable B.J. Darocha any favors. And it also exposes the MPP for who they really are, as a party who do not care about the country, whose focus has always been their parochial interest. Because within that letter, and if you don't have it, I'll get it for you, publish it later, everybody in Ghana will see. They wrote in that letter, or B.J. Darocha said in that letter, that Alan has consistently shown that where he is faced with a decision as to whether to choose Ghana or the MPP, he will consistently choose Ghana. And for somebody who really has the spirit, the character that we all ought to have, that every political party worth history should have. Because the reason why you became a political party was to advance the Ghana agenda. So the reason why Alan is seated in that party is because he places Ghana ahead of their party. You understand? So clearly, the NPP is a party where you can only rise if you demonstrate that when you are faced with that question, you choose your party over your country. And that's exactly what Affirmative is doing. He's putting the interest of his party, he's putting his personal interest ahead of the interests of Ghana. So to close, if I have a lot to say on this issue, but to end, so I will talk about other issues. The MPP is an expired product. The fact that you are expired doesn't mean that people will not still buy you. They will buy you because they may not know. It's our duty, the collective of everybody, to propagate that message that they are an expired product. And they are expired so far as their values are values that will poison our political culture, are values that enhances the kakistocracy that we have become, that needs to be dismantled. Let us start that process. Let us start that process of dismantling that expired product that not only poisons the political culture in this country, but also undermines the rule of law and the purpose of the rule of law. That course will begin when we gladly, happily, and before we do that, kiss your thumb, you kiss it, and you vote against Dr. Bawumia and all their candidates, and vote in the case of in the presidential one for Honorable Alan John Kojo Chimantin, so that we will all together build that right Ghana, that Ghana that is forward by the right culture, a culture that puts the interest of Ghana ahead of all interests, so that together we can start the process of making Ghana the black star of Africa once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a few messages on Facebook. I would want to go through them. Alhaji Haruna says, as for Apenyo Makin, he's only interested in protecting his portfolio, but sorry to say he is a worse leader for the MPP in Parliament. Osman Mubarak Ahmed said, watching you live from Legon. Thank you. Alhaji Haruna comes back to say that Ama Pratt is on fire. Mauli Kojo says, I don't want to laugh. MPP must go. All right. There are a few others, but we are far behind time, so we'll proceed to our next topic for conversation. I didn't want to start the Shraj, conversation with Kojo, but since he has spoken with Ablako on this matter, this morning actually, so he's best placed. Yes, Kojo is best placed to tell us what the horse has said. So Kojo, the Shraj report, I mean, very interesting. Some people have said that if you read what they have said in the report, and it appears that they left out Edu Jemfi, or is it Kusi Boateng they call him? Well, one of the names. So they left him out of it. It appears that they didn't investigate that. But it's interesting when they are asking authorities to investigate the Board of Trustees, and possibly if they if they have been found to have done anything wrong, then there should be some prosecution. That for me is interesting. But you have spoken to Ablakwa. What is the next step right now? Did you ask him? Did you find out what he's going to do next, as far as this report is concerned?
Well, indeed, I've spoken to a number of people who have expressed views on this report, including Mr. Ablakwa. He, of course, is quite happy with some elements of the report, not happy with others. I suppose that is normal. So he's happy with the findings that the Commission made about how the contractor was employed for this project. According to Shraj, the contractor was employed without public procurement, the public procurement authority's involvement at all. And you know that Shraj, will give everybody the opportunity to explain themselves before they write their report. So they gave these trustees the opportunity to explain themselves. Now, if you are one of those Christians who believes in touch not my anointed, switch off your TV now. Just for the next few minutes. Because
you touch the anointed.
Yes. There's some touching about to occur. So let's first of all name them. Okay. These are the members of the Board of Trustees to build a cathedral for God. Apostle Professor Opoku Nyina is a former chairman of the Church of Pentecost. He's actually the chairperson of the board. Archbishop Charles Palmer Buckle is a Metropolitan Catholic Archbishop of Cape Coast. He's the vice chairman. Most Reverend Bishop Justice Ofe Akrufi, former Anglican Archbishop Emeritus. Emeritus means that there's no other honor they can give. They finished giving you all the honors, but you are still more honorable than what you've been honored to. So they add emeritus just to show that whap him. Yes. Most Reverend T.K. Awotwe Pratt. Are you related? If I can touch. Thank you. He is the former presiding bishop of the Methodist Church. Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mati. You remember him? Anyansafwe Mohi.
The dog man. He unleashes dogs.
Yeah. I think he's still looking for the Anyansafu. Well, okay, he's a former moderator of the Presbyterian Church. Reverend Dr. Joyce Ayi, Executive Director of Salt and Light Ministries, is also a member. Reverend Victor Kusi Boating, this is the one who, who's also called Kwabene Dujenfi, right? Founder of Power Chapel Worldwide, he's a member. Reverend Dr. Frimpong Manso, General Superintendent Assemblies of God, is a member. Kingsley Ufosu Ntiamwa is the Executive Director, of the Ghana Museum and Monuments Board. He's a member. And Dr. Paul Opoku Mensah is the Executive Director. And then there are some consultants, Carrie Summers, and the architect is David Ajay. Okay. Let me leave that there. So these are the people, and you would have noticed how many men of God and women of God are mentioned, and not just random, recently ordained theological school graduates. No, the biggest of the biggest. And by the way, the events that occurred, which resulted in Shraj's ruling, at the time they occurred, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams was also a member. Pastor Mensah Otabil was a member. Bishop Doug Heward Mills was a member. Who am I missing out?
I think these three.
Who? These three?
These three, yeah.
I mean, am I exaggerating if I say that these are quite easily the top three clergy in Ghana? Okay, they were members. In addition to this cornucopia of heaven applicants, right?
On what?
Now,
On what?
cornucopia. You can Google it in your own time. now, this is the point I want to make, for which reason I mentioned their names. when Shraj pointed out that, look, you people, you got a whole contractor, paid him millions to do this project without taking it through public procurement, that is actually a crime. That's a breach of, I think it's what is it, 663? Yeah, 663, if I'm remembering correctly. I'll be a terrible lawyer.
No.
Act 663. I'm
You
sure
can just make reference. You don't need to remember everything.
Anyway, it's a breach of the Public Procurement Act. These men of God and women of God, ordained shepherds of flocks, people who heal the sick, who preach virtue and take our collection money and promise us
And tight.
that they have the pathway to heaven. These people told Shraj that we are not a public institution, so we don't need to go through public procurement. Now, you know what? Ordinarily, I would have been charitable. I would have thought to myself, oh, maybe they didn't know. I mean, these people have been running their private churches. They've never been, public officers. So maybe they didn't realize that they are actually a public institution. Maybe when the money was taken from consolidated fund and given to them to work with, maybe they just didn't know that if you are using public money, you must make public accounts, or you must follow public, procedures in using public money. Maybe they didn't know. I might have allowed. I mean, there are some very, very, very prominent people who are ignorant. So I may have left it to ignorance. But unfortunately for them, Shraj did a thorough job. So Shraj came back to them and said, how can you say that? The consultant on the project, you procured him through public procurement. So you know that you are using public funds, you are a public entity. You know. You are anointed men of God leading, thousands over a ditch. You know. I mean, how dare you take a poor country's money, ride in your Rolls Royce to a meeting to come and agree to take a poor country's money and decide to use it how you like, sidestep our laws and use it how you like. So Shraj has recommended that all these halo carrying men and women be prosecuted because they knew what they were doing. Look at how we want to build a house for God. Look at how we are doing it. And you see the most disheartening thing. I'll come to that. Let me go through the rest of the things that the report highlighted, the key things. The report also said that, look, we went there to see what the project is. Before we went there, we looked at how much money they had spent. They had spent some 225 million of Akufo-Addo's cedis. 225 million Ghana cedis. And when I say Akufo-Addo cedis, I don't mean his pocket money. I just mean that the cedis that are the currency of Akufo-Addo's country. 225 million of them have already been spent on this project. So they went there to see what the money has been spent on. They found a hole in the ground. And by the way, this 225 million, it doesn't include the cost of demolition. It doesn't include the cost of the land that they had to acquire for this project. It doesn't include the cost of relocating businesses, judges, other state institutions to other prime land so that they could come and build this so-called house of God. The 225 million doesn't include that. God knows what the figure will be if you were to include that. Because I beg, this is rich. I don't know if you even understand the concept of the cost of one plot of land at Ridge. They went to find a hole in the ground. But 225 million cedis has already been spent. It's gone. It's not like it's waiting to be spent. Once they are ready to create more than a hole, then they'll spend the money. No, they've spent the money, they have a hole to show for it. So Shraj said, you know what? We don't have the expertise to do audit, but somebody must audit this. So they said, please do a financial audit, what they call a forensic audit. Also do a value for money audit. And they asked that the Auditor General look into that. We'll see. We are yet to hear his comment on whether he's going to carry out the recommendation of Shiraj. They didn't stop there. This Kusi Boateng thing, I've seen lots of media outlets saying that Kusi Boateng was exonerated. When you read the report, that's not the conclusion you will come to. I mean, if you read it in English. Because what they are saying is that, look, there are issues of identity crime here. And they think that those issues should be investigated by the right bodies, or the Attorney General or CID or whomever. And they enumerated those issues. They said, look, this guy got a tax ID under a name that is not the name in his ID. Is it even legal or possible for that to happen? So please look into that. The one thing they did say was that they saw one passport, or one valid passport. One valid passport. Okay? Which is the diplomatic passport, which has his Edu Jemfi name. Right? But this is a person who is called Reverend Kusi Boateng. On the board, what's it called? The website that I'm looking at, where he's listed as Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, not Edu Jemfi. But he has a diplomatic passport, which says that he's a public officer called Edu Jemfi. So I don't know the people who are saying he's been exonerated. Exonerated of what? My criticism of Shraj is that I think the report should have perhaps looked at or made some ruling on all the evidence that we are aware was handed over to them, because a lot was handed over to them. For example, evidence that, and by the way, this is the kind of evidence that can never be explained. Why one person has 2 dates of birth. Right? That evidence was presented to them. Why one person has a different driver's license, different passport. That was also presented to them. I would have liked to see what their investigation concluded on that evidence. And I think they were light on that. So that's my criticism of Shraj, that they shouldn't allow for people to come to the conclusion that they skipped some of the issues. Okay? So look, I'll end on this. From the very beginning, this cathedral was one man's unilateral wet dream. He slept, woke up, and decided that he's going to build a cathedral for God. In fact, apparently he made the promise before he won the presidency that, oh God, if I win presidency, I'll build you a cathedral. I still don't know where I come in. Me, Kojo Yankson, taxpayer and resident and what's it called, citizen of Ghana. I don't know where I come into that conversation between Nana Akufo-Addo and God. But I'm paying for the fulfillment of his fantasy. I don't know where you come. I don't know where we, the taxpayers, where we come in. But we are paying for it. As if that's not bad enough. When it was originally announced that a cathedral is going to be built on state land, we all asked, hey, did we ask you for this? Did we vote for you to come into power on the back of this? Did you write this in your manifesto? Did you say this anywhere on any channel or anything, and based on that we chose you to be our president? Where from this one? Someone took it to the Supreme Court. And these guys went there to lie. That the thing will not include even 1 cedi of public funds. That same year, budget reading, seed money was committed. Our money was committed as seed money to this one man's unilateral wet dream. Our seed money, our money was made seed money for his project. I mean, I've never heard of a bigger abuse of power. But somehow the whole nation was invited to go along with it. And to this day, government officials still defend that project. It's not that we shouldn't have a cathedral. Have you seen David Ajayi's design? It is gorgeous. Me, if I have that in my city, I'll be happy. But why am I the one paying for it? Why? You've brought together these titans of spirituality, people who have built cathedrals of their own, and you are telling me that even when you bring them together like some biblical Captain Planet, they still can't raise enough money to build one cathedral among them? Then I'm sorry, why have we been thinking so highly of them all this time? Why have we been considering them to be some sort of competent people? Why? So look, the whole thing has been a lie from the beginning. The whole project has been an insult to Ghanaians, and they have insulted us in the name of God. But they say, touch not my anointed.
Right. Thank you very much. Council.
What do you want me to say after this? Just tell me to me. That's a comprehensive, fantastic submission, and in fact, you can't have an excuse to say you don't understand what Kojo said. And it's not just about this, about the facts, but also his opinion. For me, just supports my message for the day. We are a kakistocracy. You see, if you are there tickling yourself and laughing, oh, we are a democracy, we are a democracy. No, we are a kakistocracy. Even the asofo, he said, what? What for the day? Even the kunobia of asofo, can allow themselves to be part of this grand scheme at deceiving the whole country. Now who caused them? It should be ringing in our minds. Now who caused them? What did we do to allow I don't want to use the word somebody like, what did we do to cause Nana Akufo-Addo to become the president of this country, to start and succeed, to start and bring to an end the transformation of our democracy into a kakistocracy? He used all tools, the deception. It wasn't the same person who went to Jerusalem, to the Wailing Wall, wailed there, and after he wailed at the Wailing Wall, came back and had that wet dream that said, Nana, in the midst of the wet dream, go and build a cathedral. Listen, I'm not going to talk much. You understand? We should stop our story of all talk, no action. If we lose the election, they will lose. If Alan becomes president, I can assure you they will go to jail. If Alan becomes president, they will go to jail. In the unlikely event that Mahama becomes president, he does not lead the jailing of these people. And no mercy for the cripple, because we started touching. They can have 1,000 halos over their heads. Thousands. But we must create a system where people know that, listen, there's consequence for your actions. Because one of the biggest mistakes we've done, one of the things that we've done that has caused our democracy to become a kakistocracy, is to create a system, a culture, where people think that we can get away with doing things. Yeah, you understand? We can sin against. How can one person be born on 2 days? Even Jesus Christ wasn't born on 2 days. One person, you are born on 2 days. Is it possible? Hey, one person. And when we are talking about diplomatic passport, it's not something we should joke with. You give diplomatic passport or the birth of a diplomatic passport. I don't know. Would that be right to say if that name exists in our system? Yeah, because there's somebody supposedly in our system called Edu Jemfi who holds a diplomatic passport. And diplomatic passport is not like your regular passport. Diplomatic passport, it means that he's clothed with the immunity. So it's something that is really serious, that emanates, it's a special something that comes from the state itself. So is there any human being in Ghana here called that Edu Jemfi name or Edu Jemfi? And can we pinpoint that person? Our records. You see, so the whole system, there's something fundamentally wrong with our entire system. There's something fundamentally wrong with our entire system. That needs correcting. Because from what they are saying, there's somebody called Kwabena Edu Jemfi who on the day he was born was recorded, was documented as having been born on the day he said he was born. Who, after a thorough check by national security and all the state apparatus, was passed to be handed a diplomatic passport. Are we joking? Yes, we are joking as a country. There's something fundamentally wrong with the country, and that's the change we are calling for. When we say change, we just don't want a change of regime. Sometimes everything is about regime, but we need a radical change in everything about Ghana. It shouldn't be possible for somebody to be born and not be documented, because what has happened because we don't enforce basic things as you give birth, you are documented. Basic things. You see, the difference between Ghana and say England and the US are basic things which put us on the word integrity. You understand? And we are lacking that. Our leaders don't have integrity. Ghana doesn't have integrity. And we should have the courage to say it. The ministers, with all the hello, they misinterpret the Bible because we don't read the Bible. Also, we read the book of Acts. And these were more noble than the Thessalonians, that's the Bereans, because they studied the word of God daily to see whether or not what the pastor is saying is true. Then we don't read the Bible, we just go to church and pretend and go and dance and go and do all Listen, and these people, hello. My mouth is too light to use the word could you use, so I'll use hello. You understand? They are a central theme in this theft that has been done to the country. Should they be allowed to go? So our time is fast spent, but I want to reiterate this again. Shiraj is recommending that the Asofo they should be prosecuted. Shiraj is saying that we should do a forensic investigation. Shiraj is saying, and even if they have not said that, we should investigate into why one man can be born on 2 days. But there's a biological research that needs to be done to answer that question. Under what circumstance can one man be born, on 2 days?
And have two different names.
You don't have on 2 days, but he was born on 2 days. One man born 2 days, 2 different days. We do those investigations, and once we've done those investigations, I can assure Ghanaians that should Alan Chamartin become president, they'll be prosecuted. And if they are found guilty, they'll go to jail. In the unlikely event that Mahama becomes president, or Cheddar, or any of the other candidates, they all contested. You understand? If any of them wins, then all of them must be prosecuted. So we start the process of radically revolutionizing the system, which allows for the caucus to rule.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Piadankwa. Finally, Mami Amakwa.
Well, I mean, for me, the biggest shock in this Kusibuatin, his other name, Edu Jemfi, is the double mothers. That's the one that's the part that kills me. Because, I mean, we all know of...
Born in installments.
That just kills me. Because we know, Kojo, of people who have football age. So having double age, we know of it. Of course, it's a crime. It is a crime, Kojo. I'm saying, I'm in the realm of crime now. I'm operating in the realm of crime. So in crime, you know, people, there's that. There's the possibility of having 2 names. Yeah. We know people travel and then they'll pick up another name. There's that. But to have 2 mothers, Kojo,
He shared the word.
he has 2 mothers. That's on another level. So now I want to know, is it a case of he has taken on somebody's identity? Is that what we are talking about here? Because this is not just a case of one man duplicating himself as people do sometimes. There's an actual named mother. So is it a case where somebody actually exists that he has gone and, you know, and this man has immunity on all sides. He has diplomatic immunity. He has spiritual immunity. Because in one identity, he's a man of God, and in another identity, he's a diplomat. You understand the way the man is operating?
Yeah.
So he has spiritual immunity, and then he has diplomatic immunity.
How?
It's on another level. Like what we are discussing is also, when I hear the comments about this is the one thing on which, you know, Shrad is exonerated, I'm like, if it is, we need to pursue it further. But when you read the content of Shrad's report, I don't think that it was exonerated. I think what it said was that let's probe further. You know, Shrad literally said, well, this I take off my hand, let's give it to another body to probe further, not exonerated. How can anybody exonerate this? Now, the interesting thing for me is the words that are used in the report. Illegal. Yep. Shrad actually used the word illegal, that this contract, illegal, said it's void. Now, if something is void, you know what it means, right? It has never happened. We can scrap it off the record. It doesn't exist. But then the money has been spent. The money has been spent. Again, Shrad uses the word. It says, on the face of it, prima facie possible corruption. So it's not an oversight, it's not a mistake, it's not a Shrad is telling us that in this instance, there is possibility of corruption. And further goes on to say, if we, you know, these people are liable for prosecution, this is a serious issue. This is a serious issue. I can understand why some of the Planeteers were jumping off the ship at some point. You know, when they realized that, Charlie, this thing is not looking good. Some people wanted to jump, but nobody's jumping off any ship. We are all in this together. Yes, they let their powers combine for corruption. Nobody's getting off the ship. Nobody. Listen, everybody, we are all equal before the law. All of us are equal before the law. All of us. To go and accept to be a trustee on any board that handles public funds, you won't hide under the disguise of spirituality to steal our money. No, you are liable under the law. And Shrad has, you know, spelled it out black and white what the laws are. This thing has got to stop at some point. Men of God who have double identity, you know, I mean, no. Listen, even the one, and there are names there that we all revere and all respect. I have family members in there. But no, all of them should be touched. They should all be touched. Because listen, we are not a flourishing country. We don't have money. As a country, we are broke. That's our reality. And we are broke because of corruption. Corruption. We can talk about incompetence, which is a big issue that we deal with in this country. People simply do not have the skills for positions that they are given. Like the conversation we were having earlier about a majority leader who doesn't seem to understand the implications of all of his consistent actions, right? So there's that conversation to be had about competence and how people mismanage and all of that. But when there's a clear case of corruption, willful corruption, and public funds are involved, everybody needs to face the music, all of them. And I'm sorry, but being a man of God and that has nothing to do with it. And whether they built a cathedral or they built a market or they built a road, the point is that they were boards of trustees, they were trustees on a board that handled public funds.
Right.
They were corrupt, or there's possibility of corruption, not mismanagement, corruption. This is what Shad shares. All of them should face the music. And I mean, all of them should face the music. All of them.
Right. Our time is up. We need to go. I mean, I'm being reminded every now and then. You have 1 minute more. You have 5 minutes. I mean, we are done with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kojo. And thank you, Councillor Piadanko. It's been a pleasure. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll bring you campaigns. I think there should be the last but one edition of the Friday campaigns, That's when we bring you on election focus. However, it continues, and tomorrow, by the way, is Obasema. The Obasema Summit is tomorrow at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. It's happening there. Mamiama Prats will be there, and so would many other people that you'd want to see. You'd want to say a thing about it, like a minute?
Thank you so much, Bless. This year we are focusing our conversation on affirmative action, empowerment in action. We've advocated for years and years. When I say we, I mean, everybody that's interested in gender, and gender mainstreaming. We've had conversations around legislating, representation, so to speak, and participation, where our involvement as women is not on the whims and caprices of an individual, where we are relying on somebody's good faith to say that I've employed, 1,000 men. Let me add 2 women here and there, And for me, and perhaps more importantly, the fact that these issues affect all of us, not just women, but women and men, So that conversation has been had for years and years and years. Finally, the Affirmative Action Bill has been passed into law. But the question remains, what next? All of us live in this country. We know of brilliant laws that have no impact on our lived experiences. And this one, I was giving the example of the rent law. Everybody knows what the rent law is. Everybody knows that it doesn't apply at all, in this country. We do not want a situation where the affirmative action law becomes yet another beautiful law on the shelves of the legislature. Our question or our quest for tomorrow is to understand what the law is, the objectives, the targets. We want to see the destination, the end game. And so there's that learning process so that we know what our part, in implementing or actioning the objectives of the bill is, so that it becomes relevant in our lives, our everyday lives. The Affirmative Action Bill becomes meaningful and impactful in the lives of all Ghanaians, not just women.
Right. Thank you so much. Let me say my goodbyes before the TV goes off. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Do have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.